Hello, everybody. My name is Dixon Cunningham. I'm a professor of geology and the assistant chair in the Department of Environmental Earth Science at Eastern Connecticut State University. Quite often in my introductory earth science course, on the very first day of class, I show this slide. And I ask students, what do you see? Now, you might be wondering, why am I showing a picture of space? Well, maybe you can recognize the rings of Saturn, but that little white dot out there, that's the Earth. About 1 billion miles away, this photo was taken by NASA's Cassini probe that surveyed the rings of Saturn, and it pointed its camera back towards Earth. And that is our home. And that is a very interesting place, and that's what we examine and study and try to understand in our department, Environmental Earth Science, EES. So, we offer a great curriculum. We have enthusiastic students. We have 4 different programs in our major: Environmental Earth Science, General Earth Science, Environmental Science, which is somewhat new, and Sustainable Energy Science. And so our students can study any of these concentrations within the EES major. I'll tell you more about our field trips and the experiential learning in a little while, but environmental earth science is such an important topic these days. The environment and the earth and natural hazards and climate change and sustainability and earth resources are such important topics for all of us. And I will also say here at the outset that our majors are prepared for all kinds of interesting careers. So this is also a very useful subject in terms of career preparation. We have the most beautiful and amazing planet, and I always remind my students of this. And EES can be your ticket to the world. Okay, many of our students travel widely. The faculty members have also. We've worked and lived overseas, and so what we want to do is enlighten our students to appreciate everything about the planet, everything about the history of the planet, its resources, the environments, the inner processes, surface processes, and earth and environmental science and how it relates to society. Look at this incredible picture here. This is on the margins of Tibet in China, an area I've worked a lot in. And can you imagine waking up in the morning, that village down the lower right, and seeing that view out your window? Well, in EES, there are a lot of subdisciplines. Everything to do with geology and resources and the environment, and paleontology, the history of life, and hydrogeology, sustainable energy, ecology, sustainability, coastal geoscience, remote sensing, geographic information systems. These are all important topics. And so if you come to Eastern and study EES, you'll be introduced to many of these topics, and you may specialize in some of them. Well, look at these 2 pictures. Hopefully this doesn't remind you of your teachers or your parents or your future professors, but this was humanity 10,000 years ago. We were living in the Stone Age. We were crafting tools from stone, from bone, from primitive materials. We hadn't yet learned how to extract ores and metals from rocks. And so we were living in small tribes as hunter-gatherers. It's just incredible, the development in terms of the built environment and society. And it really has to do with when our ancestors first discovered the wide-ranging natural resources that can be extracted, exploited, produced, and refined for human use. And so this is an incredible transformation of our planet, still going on, of course. And so here in EES, we look at this evolution of societal change and technological development in terms of earth resources and their extraction, and also exploration for future resources. So we want to learn as much as we can about our beautiful planet. The Earth is our home. It's an amazing little blue marble in space. And we're interested in its geology, what it's made of, what are the processes on the surface inside, its resources, and how the solid Earth interacts with all the other spheres, the biosphere, the cryosphere, the hydrosphere, the atmosphere. This is Earth sciences. And the more we know about the Earth and its history, the more it informs our understanding of the present and the future, and the societal issues that require an understanding of earth science, such as climate change and resource sustainability and natural hazards and many others. We don't just study environmental earth science because we want to get a better job. The more we find out about our planet, the more we appreciate it, the more we're filled with wonder. And this adds meaning to our lives. We want to be scientifically informed citizens. In this slide, you can see in the bottom half a drone image of part of our campus. And right in the middle is the science building. The science building has all the physical science departments, and it's a wonderful facility for EES. We have state-of-the-art laboratories and teaching spaces, wonderful research spaces, a lot of open areas for students to gather, to study, wonderful computer labs for student access. So it's really a great place for our students and faculty in our community. On the second floor, mostly the second and fourth floor of the science building. Above that, you see three different course charts. These are for 3 of the 4 concentrations we offer. In these 3 rectangular boxes, you can see the progression of courses that students follow as they continue on through the degree towards graduation. Don't worry about the details here. The information is on our webpage. But what you should take away from this is that there's a common core of courses in EES that all students complete, and then depending on the concentration, students take other foundation and advanced courses catering to their interests and potential career interests. And just this past year, the department has created a new concentration in the EES major. We had students who had come forward, or high school students who had come and visited us, who expressed an interest in more environmental science within the major. So we had formally approved now a new environmental science concentration, and this concentration has a curriculum that embeds more environmental health science, environmental policy, conservation science, ecology, and some other topics tied into global change, climate change, for those students more interested in those topics. So we're quite excited now to develop and introduce this 4th concentration, and our students have 4 possible pathways within the major to pursue while they're here at Eastern. I've also shown here in the top right the learning outcomes that all EES students achieve upon graduation, and then the Eastern university-wide liberal arts learning outcomes that our graduating seniors also achieve. We have great field trips in EES. It's a big part of our program. Many of the faculty are practitioners in terms of field work. We practice what we preach. We love teaching in the field, and we run all kinds of field trips. We have local field trips right here in Eastern Connecticut and into Rhode Island and coastal areas. And here's some pictures from some of them from this past year, in fact. And we also run extended field courses. These are usually 1 to 2 weeks in duration. We try to run them every year, usually in the spring. And here you can see a picture from our first Iceland trip from a few years ago. And this was a superb field course where we, as you see here, saw a lot of dramatic scenery, and we did some great hiking. We walked on glaciers. We went to an offshore island with active volcanism. We went to the famous Blue Lagoon. We saw stunning waterfalls. We walked behind waterfalls. We saw all kinds of geothermal activity, geysers and hot springs. It was just really a superb visit to the land of fire and ice. We saw some classic geological locations. We got to go on a Zodiac boat ride amongst icebergs in a big glacial lake that you see here. And we had all kinds of adventures. We also learned a lot about Icelandic culture and Icelandic history. We went to Reykjavik, and we went to some of the museums, and we went to one of the geothermal power plants. So it was a very multidisciplinary trip. We also have gone to Arizona now twice, and this is a great trip. Arizona is such a superb destination in the spring when it's cool still in New England, but the weather's beautiful out in the southwest. And it really is a geologist playground between the geology around Tucson in the south to the Grand Canyon in the north and everything in between. This is a fantastic field trip. And in addition, we bring in the Native American culture and geology and society issues and some of the ecological issues in terms of the ecosystems that we pass through from the Sonoran Desert all the way to the Colorado Plateau. So this is a great trip that we probably run now every 3 years or so. So on this trip, we run all over the state of Arizona. We hike down into the Grand Canyon, as you see here. We go to Sedona and the Red Rocks country and hike around the canyons there, which are superb, beautiful places. We go to the mountains above or north of Tucson, where we get up into some very interesting geology and scenery and different ecosystems at different elevations. We go to the San Francisco Volcanic Peaks, a very young volcanic field north of Flagstaff. We also visit the Sonoran Desert, and we go to some Native American sites, including some cliff dwellings. We go to an old ghost town and a mining district and collect beautiful copper minerals, green and blue rocks laying around with all sorts of exotic mineralogy. So this is a really wonderful trip every single day. Oh, we also go to one of these Spanish missions and talk about the colonization by Spanish explorers of the American Southwest. So it's an action-packed trip that we run on a sort of a rotating basis every few years. We've also been running a trip to Wyoming and Idaho in recent years. This was the last trip we ran. It was a big trip. We had 24 students and 3 faculty. Here we are in Yellowstone, amongst one of the major geothermal sites. This is Grand Prismatic Spring. And here we are at the lower falls of the Yellowstone River, one of our group photos. We also got up to 10,000 feet here in the top right picture in the Tetons, Grand Teton National Park. We're up in the snow again and back into winter. The top left, you can see a student giving a presentation. On all these field trips, students choose a subject that they become an expert on, and they present to their class cohort. And here's a student talking about the river terraces in Grand Teton National Park along the Snake River. The top right, when we were in Craters of the Moon National Monument in Idaho, we had crazy weather and a tornado swept through, actually. This was before it really got bad, and all the thumbs up. In the lower left, you can see some of our students on a rafting trip that we had in the Tetons. That was a wonderful trip. We also saw a mother moose and 2 babies as we went floating by. And we also go to a famous fossil collecting region of southwest Montana where all the students left with beautiful fish fossils for their collections. So that's a fun trip, and we're going to repeat this every few years also. So in terms of upcoming field excursions in the future, and if you're a student who's considering coming to Eastern and you might want to major in EES, we will continue to run these field trips, and hopefully this COVID-19 business will be over pretty soon and we can get back to some of these exciting trips that we run. We love running these trips, and our students have a great time. These are some of the climactic experiences of their undergraduate careers. We hope to run a trip to northeastern Spain soon. We had it on the books this year, and then it was canceled because of COVID. We're going to rerun the Wyoming-Idaho trip. We know how to run it smoothly and economically, and it's a superb trip. We're going to run a low-cost summits and seashore field trip to the White Mountains of New Hampshire and coastal Maine, including Acadia National Park in the future. And this will focus on the bedrock geology and the coastal geology and the glacial geology and some of the environmental science on that trip. So we have a lot planned for the future, and we look forward to these trips. In terms of experiential learning, a lot of our students carry out supervised research projects, and this is important because this provides really good transferable skills development for our students. Okay, so we have students working on surveying and photogrammetry here at Dinosaur State Park, students doing basic geological mapping and structural geology projects up here in Ellington, coastal projects surveying coastal erosion or doing ecological surveys or looking at lake sediments and the glacial history here in the top right. And our students present at conferences. In fact, we do really well in terms of conference participation, whether they're university conferences, local New England conferences, or national conferences, or even international conferences sometimes. Our students are encouraged to present their research, whether it's in poster or oral presentation form. And we have a lot of fun at these trips. And the department has a fund that supports student preparation and involvement in these conferences. So we usually have a big cohort. This is up in New Hampshire, where we had a big group, and we have really fun meals and a great time for our students and faculty on these 2, 3, or 4 day conferences. Our department also has a student-run chapter of the Sigma Gamma Epsilon National Honor Society in the Earth Sciences. And during the course of the academic year, students organize various events, including a visiting speaker series, where people from industry and other universities come in and talk to our students about their careers and different scientific subjects. The students run field trips. They have outreach to local schools to help kids with science education. They had a game show night this past year. They have an annual celebration and induction ceremony. So this is a nice part of our department community and our department culture. Speaking of our community, we have an annual holiday celebration. It gets a little bit silly. It's silly sweater event, and we play games. We have cornhole competitions. We have food out. We have holiday music, and this is just an end of the semester time to enjoy our department and the friendships we have. We have many other events. We have GIS events, Earth Day events, year-end celebrations, student awards ceremonies, okay, where we recognize academic excellence. What about EES graduate employment? We recognize that our students very often graduate with student debt, that students and their parents are investing a lot of money, and rightly so, students and their parents expect a return on their investment. We take this very seriously. We don't just teach our students knowledge for knowledge's sake. We also carefully consider how what we teach will help them prepare for graduate employment. And that involves embedding a lot of skills development in our curriculum. Okay, so the transferable skills, the core competencies that our students develop within the major and also as part of a liberal arts education will benefit their job prospects and their employability overall. So this is a big part of our program now, and it's embedded into the degree at all levels, individual courses, through experiential learning, and through advisement, and through a career plan. And this is part of an ongoing employability program in EES that's being developed now as I record this video and being formalized. So this is a very important part of EES now, and I want to emphasize that. We care about our students. We get to know them in our small class cohorts and our field trips, and we want our students to graduate and be successful. And we want this not just because we care about our students, but we know that successful graduates are more employed, are more engaged, they're more successfully employed. They often create pipelines for future students to get internships or jobs. And so this network of successful alumni is important to us. It's win-win for everyone. And so employability and how students develop it at Eastern is a big part of our program. Our students are so fortunate that they have so many career options when they complete the EES degree. It really is a broad-based science degree supported by other sciences such as physics, chemistry, and math. And so our students are launched when they graduate from our program. As you see in this slide, there are many different career trajectories and jobs that students can pursue when they complete their undergraduate education. We have students going into environmental science, hydrogeological jobs, geological engineering careers, jobs in GIS and surveying. We have students going into science teaching, journalism, working for government or state agencies, museum careers. Many students go into renewable energy careers now, which is a field that's really taken off. And we have students going into the traditional extractive industries, whether it's hydrocarbons or the mining industry. So it really is a broad degree, and the job market is excellent in New England, nationally and internationally, for EES graduates. Well, we've come to the end, and thank you for listening and watching. I hope this has been useful to you if you're considering coming to Eastern and studying environmental earth science. Just to summarize some of the main points and a few things I haven't said, but all of our courses are current, they're relevant, they're taught by the faculty who keep up with their field. None of our science is stale. We're all practitioners. We do our own research. We're at the cutting edges of our subject areas. We have experiential learning embedded in our curriculum. This is important. We don't just teach in the classroom. There's lots of extra classroom teaching, whether it's field trips or lab exercises or outdoor projects on campus or some sort of community projects. Experiential learning is an important part of the EES degree. What I love about Eastern and teaching in EES is that our class sizes are small. I taught for 19 years at a big university, and I taught on average 80 students. At Eastern, I get to know all of my students. None of the students get left behind. None of them fall through the cracks. We have a close-knit community. Every student in EES counts. Every EES student we get to know. We advise, we give one-on-one support to. We have an open door policy. We're a friendly department and a supportive department. We also care about not just what students do while they're at Eastern, but what they do afterwards. We're invested in your education and your employability. So thank you for listening. And if you have further questions, please contact our department. Look at our webpage. Come and visit us. Best wishes to you wherever you choose to go in your academic futures, but we hope you'll come and visit with us. And if it's a good connection, a good match for your interests, come to EES. Thanks very much.